Well, hello, everyone. 10 TV's Dom Tiberi here, joined by Dave Holmes from 10 TV and our buddy Timmy Hall from 97.1 The Fan. And it's like Christmas Day, ladies and gentlemen. The tournament is starting for the Buckeyes. Of course, we're starting with the Big Ten tournament, and this is leading up, of course, to the big March Madness. And the Buckeyes with a tall task today. Dave, no pun intended. We don't know if Liam Robbins is going to play. I've been trying to find out all morning. They said he could have played as early as yesterday. We're talking about a 7-footer that absolutely took the Buckeyes apart when they lost to him by 17 up in Minnesota. He put 27 on them and had like 14 boards. If this guy's in the game, we'll see. He's coming off injury. But I kind of got to believe he's going to play if he can play today.
Yeah, I mean, I think size would be an issue for Ohio State. Certainly, they don't have a true big man. They love playing pretty much a bunch of wing players and ask 6'7", 6'8" guys to rebound the ball. So that would be an issue. But I do think today, Tim, the biggest issue for me is just which Ohio State team shows up. I think whether or not he plays, if the Buckeyes play like we know they're capable of, I don't think this game is particularly close. But that's a big if with a Buckeye team that's dropped 4 in a row.
Yeah, I don't know what it is for me right now. I've kind of been more of a glass half full, optimistic guy about this Buckeye basketball team, and I've tried to stay pretty consistent with the fact that this losing streak is not like the other losing streaks that Ohio State basketball has had that people want to point the finger at. And Chris Holtman's even made his own jokes about not being the January guy and how his wife doesn't like him as much in January the last 2 years when they've had those skids. But it's just not the same, you know. There's critiques to be had for sure. They need to be better executing late in games. I mean, if you can't beat those top 10 teams late in the season here, well, then you can't reach your ultimate goals, right? And we don't ever want to be a program that just gets happy getting to the second round of the tournament or making a Sweet 16 and then let's pack up the bags and go home. For one, I don't even know how long they're staying in Indiana if they're going to come back to Columbus. So I hope you're packing for like an ultra European vacation where you got different types of seasonal clothing where you go and you're just ready to go all the way up to April. Get your Masters attire ready to come on back and enjoy the tournament, you know? But I'm with you, Dave. It's a mental edge and a type of toughness and intensity that's going to be thing one, not just Liam Robbins and also Gabe Kalsher playing or not playing for the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
And I agree with you guys from the standpoint that this was the most brutal finish. Chris Holtman said it was the most brutal finish he's ever been a part of. And they played 3 top 10 teams, 2 of them in the top 5. They were not blown out in any of those games. The Iowa game, you can say, well, they didn't play that well. They didn't show up. But with that said, occasionally you're going to lose ball games. This team still won 7 in a row. They won 10 out of 11. And it's amazing how many Buckeye fans have jumped off the boat. I mean, and you see it, Tim, you see it, Dave, oh, this is going to be a one and done team. They're going to get beat today. They're going to get beat today. They peaked too early. They can't close games. They closed a heck of a lot of games when they won 10 out of 11. And, you like this old saying, I give it to you all the time, Dave, from Coach Coop. There's nothing wrong with the Buckeyes. A few wins. It's starting to actually took them apart up in Gopherland.
Yeah, I think, the inability to close games is concerning. I do think it's concerning, but part of it, like Tim was referencing, is normally Chris Holtman's teams have had that January lull where they drop 3 or 4 in a row in January, and then they start peaking in March. And I think we are so accustomed to wanting teams to peak and get better as the season goes on. It feels like they've regressed at least late in the game, but the other thing is how far are you really regressing when you're playing 1 or 2 possession basketball games in the final 2 minutes against top 10 teams? So that's why this is so puzzling. Yeah, you've dropped 4 in a row, but do you have a one and done feeling about this team? I know a lot of the fan base does, but Tim, what you're saying is one and done implies that the Buckeyes can't close out against a 14 seed or a 15 seed,
right,
or in the second round against a 7 or a 10. We are saying that they can't close out against Elite 8 and Final 4 teams right now. So there is so much middle ground between one and done and championship contender. And realistically, the Buckeyes are in the middle right now. It just doesn't feel like it.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this team plays if we fast forward. Not to get ahead, because I'm very excited for this Big Ten tournament. They We'll see if they get pushed today. Minnesota is that team that should come out with an edge. They know they played a horrible basketball game. That thing against Northwestern last night. Whoa, my God. That was not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. Winning a game, shooting 35%. The other guys shoot like sub 30 or right on it. So you kind of are happy to be here, but then you're like, okay, let's get going. We got a chance at the Buckeyes. A top 10 win is in front of us. So if you get pushed, I might enjoy that a little bit to see if Ohio State does get that mental edge we talked about and then step down on the gas pedal. Dom, like you were saying, not being able to close out games. There had been a stat out there about what their record was against games decided by 5 points or less. But think about all the games, especially the last one that I was just looking at. I went and took a deeper look into the Penn State win, 92-82, just because it was the last game that they won. So maybe look at that script and see what they were doing. That was a game where they closed, right? Penn State fights the Buckeyes harder than they'll fight anybody, and they figured out a way to battle, and Justin Arns hit 3 threes in that game, not just 1 or 2. They were getting it from different spots, CJ Walker, and they took a close game, and they won it by double digits in the end. That's what it's about. So looking forward to this. And as I was saying in the beginning, the second game in the NCAA tournament, when you will really get challenged by a good 7 or 10 seed, that will be telling as to, how I think they pick up play in the second weekend, should they get there.
Folks, if you're just joining us, 10 TV's Dom Tiberi, Dave Holmes here, Timmy Hall from 97.1 The Fan. We're getting you ready for the Ohio State Buckeye basketball team's kickoff in the Big Ten tournament. They'll be taking on Minnesota at around 2 o'clock. Don't forget, you can listen to the game on 97.1 The Fan, the voice of the Buckeyes. Big Daddy Paul Keels and Ronnie Stokes will have the call for you. And then, of course, Dave will have all the highlights coming up for you tonight at 6 and 11. I personally think Ohio State's going to win. Vegas doesn't miss too many men. They have Ohio State favored as an 11-point favorite. Actually, the spread went up, so they like what they're seeing. Obviously, they don't figure that Robbins is going to be an issue. We're still waiting to hear. I wish we could find out if he's out on the floor warming up, because that dude was, the one problem Ohio State has had, Timmy, is they have had issues because they don't have a big man. And it's like Dave said, they're trying to, do whatever they can do to muscle it. And we saw what happened when Illinois' big man came in. Boy, they gave fits. And they have had some issues with the bigger men. But as far as you saying, people saying they can't close out, I believe they beat Illinois at Illinois. I believe they beat Iowa at Iowa, didn't they? I mean, so they obviously closed those games out. And last time I checked, those teams, came into Ohio State, and it was a great game. Went down to heck, they should have beat Michigan. They should have beat Illinois. But the shots didn't fall. They took some dumb shots at the end of the game. But, we're dealing with college kids, So, look, I go back to when LeBron, sometimes they don't do everything that's right. Remember his last game in Cleveland, how that went, Well, and also millions and millions and millions.
First off, the reason the line went from 11 to 11 and a half is because Tim Hall placed down such a big bet that he moved the books. That's what the man does.
Yeah. Half a point. I can really move it.
He's a gambling man.
Yeah.
Caesars called and said, Tim Hall just put in a bet so big that we had to move. The man moves lines, Dom. He's
Excuse
Jimmy
me. How's
Hall.
my credit in this establishment?
Yes, yeah. He's Jim. Okay, so let me ask you this, Tim. I want to start this conversation. I actually think that there is still a wide span of seeds the Buckeyes could get in the NCAA tournament. I had Adam Jardy from the Dispatch on Wall a couple weeks ago. He said a 2 seed is the worst. He thinks that their resume carried that much weight. Now they've lost a couple more since then. I said I thought they could still drop to a 3 or maybe a 4, but I think 3 is probably. So what do you think is at stake this week for the Buckeyes?
3 is the absolute worst, Dave.
Okay.
3 is the absolute worst that they can go to. And that's with the loss today. I think if you look at you can get caught up in the rankings. Don't look so much at the polls. Don't even so much look at the win-loss records for these teams. go with like trusted sources like Ken Palm, like maybe even more so than a net ranking, because a lot of the selection committee members, they will focus on just how good of a basketball team you are by those deep analytics of how you play offensively and how you play defensively. And we know Ohio State is way weighted towards the offense. It's rare to see a team that's ranked this high as a complete basketball team, but their defensive numbers are so low. And it's concerning to us because that does affect, my beliefs on, are they a national title contender anymore? Like how they've played against the teams that you would need to beat to win a national to win a national championship. I mean, we saw that here, and it's late in the season and they didn't close. So I kind of need to get that belief again. Like I'll need to see them go to the Elite Eight before then I get feeling again, okay, like see who they've beaten and how they've performed, and if they've held some really good offensive teams to, sub 65 points or whatnot. But two is if I think they win today, beat Purdue, you're guaranteed a 2. I think at worst they drop to a 3. And what about a 1? Jake Taylor this thing. Go out and win it. Win the Big Ten tournament, a 4-game winning streak. Let's get the Kemba Walker UConn discussion going. Let's get hot here, get hot in the NCAA tournament. Let's go with this. I'm excited. I can't wait for it. Tipping off here, and 20 seconds left to go. Maryland's soaring ahead of Michigan State by 13. So 25 minutes, and then we're up, baby.
Timmy, I love you. You got better hair than me. You are obviously a very intelligent young man, but I'm telling you, I disagree. If they go out today and they lay an egg and they look bad and they lose 5 in a row, I think they're going to drop to a 4 seed. I really do. Chris Holtman told me the other day, he thinks that, that they're going to be a high seed. He was saying 2 or 3, but I'm telling you, it's what you're doing. It's what have you done for me lately? And if Ohio State loses 5 games in a row, yes, they were in them, but if they go out and look bad today and get beat to a Minnesota team who's struggling and the whole deal, I think they drop to a 4. I hope they stay at a 3, but I could see them dropping to a 4. I really do. What do you think, Davey?
I want Tim to roast you because Dom always gets to say what he wants here at 10, and no one challenges him, Tim. Roast him if you don't think.
No. Yeah, all right. So we're not going to get to see that happen because the Buckeyes are going to look pretty good today. I think they're winning this game by 20 points. Okay, I've just said it right here. I've got like my post-game script for the network post-game show, and I've got like a million things I have to read. So I like put the score in there, and I've already written something down. It's not a jinx, but since we're doing predictions and in that business, I'm saying Buckeyes 87, Minnesota 66. So they get the offensive going. But if they lose and we continue the sadness into the big dance and they don't drop to a 4, you got to give me one of your famous pizzas or make me a pasta batch. Sure. And if you get that, you drop to the 4, I'll give you some pork barbecue.
You're telling me, though, you don't think the committee, if Ohio State looks bad, I said if they look bad and, they got beat by 17 up there, if they look bad again, if Robbins plays, and you don't think they would drop
to a 4?
You really don't.
No. 3 at the absolute worst. They have maybe the 2 best wins in college basketball, Iowa and Illinois. Maybe the best wins, true road wins in college hoops. It's keeping them afloat because you can look at Purdue and people would say, why is Purdue down at like a 4 line right now with the same record and ahead of Ohio State? They beat Ohio State twice. It's the Illinois and Iowa wins right now. It's keeping
my work here is done. I'm finished. All I want to do is get something started on this thing. I've done it, so I'm just going to kick back now, enjoy the game, while you guys battle out the debate that I started. I love this.
Well, you know what? I hope that they don't play. I don't think they're going to play bad. I think it's stupid to even think that way because I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to blow this team out.
Yeah,
but if they look bad, that's a possibility. And it can happen when 2 teams play a game. One team's going to win, one team's going to lose. And if they look bad, I don't think that bodes well for Ohio State. I'm sorry. Sometimes perception becomes reality, Timmy. It doesn't make it right, but sometimes it does happen. So I think they got to go. And listen, I think if they win 2 games in this tournament, they're a number 2 seed.
Agreed.
I think if they win 2 games, they lock up a 2.
Agreed.
I think if they get beat today, and 3 or 4.
And sorry, I was glitching out a second. If they do lose today, though, I will not feel good about their second round opponent. I won't feel good about their second rounder in the NCAAs. Whatever seed they drop to, if they lose today, then I will feel funny. And so I just think this game, even though it's against a 13 seed, or I don't know if Minnesota is the 13 or the 12, I stopped looking, whatever. It doesn't matter. This needs to be like your national championship. That's the kind of performance and that you got to come out and show in this one. And they need to show something in the first 8 minutes of this game here. I want to see them start fast. I want to see somebody other than Dwayne and EJ really ready to play and locked in.
Well, if they're hitting their threes today, they'll be all right. This team lives and dies by the 3. And they missed their last 10 shots against Illinois. Majority of them threes. Dwayne Washington had a couple of good looks, but he also had some bad shots. They got to play a little smarter in the end, but they live and die by the 3, this team.
Tim, I want to ask you about the overall draw in this tournament. A lot of people were worried about the second round matchup potentially. We all expect them to beat Minnesota today. If they get Purdue then in the next game, a lot of people thought that was a tough draw. I actually love the draw because we've seen them lose twice to Purdue, both close games. If I'm playing a team a third time, there is no better scenario than a team that you've lost to twice in close competitive games. It's not like they blew them out and Purdue has some massive mental edge. I mean, what do you think about a potential matchup with Purdue?
I love it too. And the games run together. Dave, remind me, did they miss EJ or Kyle in that first Purdue game in West Lafayette?
I believe no Kyle in West Lafayette. I believe so.
No Kyle. Okay. Because, and that's the other thing too, just for more credit for what Ohio State's done as a whole, before I touch on the third game against Purdue, is they've had more injury situations and strange things pop up than you can shake a stick at. I mean, are you kidding me? They were down 3 point guards. When have you ever seen somebody down 3 point guards? And a guy in Abel Porter, who transferred in from Utah State, he never even got to play. I hope that young man and his health situation is looking positive and he can get back on the court one day. And
by the way, no EJ. I stand corrected. No EJ in the first game. That was before Kyle Young's concussion. So no EJ in first one.
No EJ you missed EJ Liddell, who's a first team all Big Ten guy. He had a bout with mono, and that was clearly a difference because they fought really hard. If you remember, I think Dwayne had a corner 3, and you might be another example of when you say, Dwayne, ease up, take a better shot there, but he had an open look. I think that would have cut it to 2 points in the final 2 minutes, and they had just been chasing that game the whole second half, and they needed to get over the hurdle. But I'm with you. Edge to Ohio State. They get to play here today. They're a team that hasn't been right in a 4-game losing streak. It can just take one win. It's just like when you're struggling within a game, right? Getting to the free throw line, seeing the ball go in the basket a couple times can change everything as an offensive shooter. So as a team, just getting a victory, seeing a green W pop up next to your box score. And then I love their prospects of beating Purdue tomorrow.
Dom is muted.
Dom, I think you're muted, buddy.
It says mute. Although, hey, we went 19 minutes into a Zoom without this happening.
Somebody muted Dom. He didn't do that himself. There he is. There you are, Dom.
We now have audio, Dom.
We got you.
No, he's going full blown that guy right now. He's going full blown that guy. Okay, Tim, I have audio and video.
Hey, David,
there he is.
Wait a second, real quick. We have to get out because something with the Zoom. We have to get out. We got to be out by 1:50. Real quick, Dave, your score.
I'm going to say Ohio State wins 82-66.
Timmy?
87-66.
I'm going Ohio State 77-64. Don't forget, listen to the game on 97.1 The Fan. Davey will have the highlights. And for Dave Holmes, Timmy Hall, I'm Dom Tiberi saying thanks for watching. And we'll see you, but hopefully talking a big Buckeye victory. Yeah.